Most people are taught a comforting story about money. It's a simple story, a clean story, a story that feels logical. Long ago, humans struggled with barter. Farmer had grain, but needed shoes. A shoemaker had shoes, but wanted meat. Trade was awkward, inefficient, slow. Then came a brilliant invention. Money. Coins appeared. Trade became easier. Civilization moved forward. It's a nice story. It's also mostly false. Money didn't emerge because barter was inconvenient. Money emerged because power needed a tool. And once that tool existed, it never stopped shaping who controls value, labor, and force. Welcome to Finance TED Official, where money, power, and history collide. Nothing is ever as simple as it looks. Life before money, before money. Most human societies did not operate on barter. Inside small communities, people didn't wake up every day negotiating exchanges. They relied on something far more powerful. Memory, obligation, trust. You gave because you belonged. You received it because you were known. No prices, no coins, no contracts. Debts weren't written down. They were remembered. Value wasn't abstract. It was social. This system worked remarkably well, as long as societies stayed small. But scale changes everything. When society outgrew trust as populations grew, villages became cities. Trade expanded beyond kin and neighbors. Strangers arrived with no shared history. And suddenly, trust stopped scaling. Memory broke down. Obligation faded. Violence became more frequent. Rulers faced a new problem, one barter could never solve. How do you feed an army that doesn't know you? How do you tax people you'll never meet again? How do you extract value across vast territory? That's where money enters the story. Not as convenient, but as infrastructure. Why metal changed everything. Value needed a body. Something durable, portable, divisible, countable without conversation. Food spoiled. Livestock wandered. The land didn't move. Labor vanished once used. Metal solved the problem. Copper, bronze, silver. Not because they were shiny, but because they behaved well under pressure. They didn't rot. They could be melted. They could be divided precisely. Metal didn't just store value. It made value mobile. Money was built by rulers. Here's what textbooks rarely tell you. Merchants didn't create money. States did. Early empires didn't need money to trade. They needed money to command. Armies don't fight on promises. Soldiers don't march on goodwill. They need payment. And payment must be standardized, recognizable, and forcible. Once rulers demanded taxes payable in metal, everything changed. People who once lived outside markets were forced into them. Subsistence became an obligation. Harvests became liabilities. Markets didn't emerge naturally. They were pulled into existence by taxation and power. Money didn't free people from rulers. They made rulers far more efficient. Temples, palaces, and ledgers, early financial centers, weren't markets. They were temples and palaces. Priests and kings tracked grain, metal, and labor long before free trade existed. Accounting came before coinage. Ledgers came before markets. The system was built top-down, not bottom-up. Once value could be measured, it could be extracted. Once extracted, it could be stored. Once stored, it could be accumulated. And accumulated value becomes power. The revolution of coins. Metal was useful. Stamped metal was revolutionary. When rulers began minting coins, marking metal with official symbols, they weren't just standardizing trade, they were stamping trust itself. The coin said, "You don't need to trust the person holding this. You need to trust whoever issued it." Authority replaced relationships. Coins carried gods, emperors, national symbols. Every transaction reinforced who ruled. Money became propaganda you could hold. The first inflation, once rulers realized they controlled money, temptation followed. Reduce metal content. Clip edges. Issue more coins. Spending became easier. Consequences were delayed. Inflation wasn't discovered recently. It was invented the moment money became adjustable. Prices rose. Trust weakened. Soldiers demanded more pay. And yet, societies couldn't go back. Money was too powerful, too embedded. The tool had changed everything. Money never left power. The logic of ancient coins never disappeared. Materials changed, incentives didn't. We still use standardized units. We still rely on authority. We still accept abstraction over trust. Money didn't evolve away from power. It evolved with it. That's why monetary systems outlast rulers. Kings fall. Borders shift. Empires collapse. Money quietly absorbs new symbols and continues. From coins to systems, as economies expanded, money stopped being a tool. It became an environment. Wealth could be stored across generations. Debt could be enforced. Inequality could persist long after its origin was forgotten. Abstraction erased memory. Coins passed through countless hands with no trace of who suffered to create them. The system felt natural, invisible, inevitable. That's its greatest power. Modern money, same DNA. Modern money doesn't jingle, but it still carries ancient DNA. It's backed by authority. It's by taxation, by enforcement. Instead of debasement, we say liquidity. Instead of clipping coins, we say balance sheets. Instead of emperors, we say institutions. The language evolved, the mechanism didn't. Money still moves value through power structures. The biggest misunderstanding: money wasn't designed to be fair. It was designed to be scalable. Fairness has always been secondary, negotiated through politics and pressure. This isn't a conspiracy, it's history. What this means for you understanding money's origin changes everything. You stop asking, why is the system broken? You start asking, who does it serve under stress? Financial freedom doesn't come from rejecting money. It comes from understanding what money was built to do and what it was never meant to provide. From barter to bronze, from coins to digits, the story is consistent. Money didn't emerge to make life easier. It emerged to make power portable. And once power became portable, it reshaped everything. It's that money is neutral. History doesn't repeat. But the logic it runs on rarely changes. And once you see that logic clearly, you stop asking why the system behaves the way it does. You ask a better question: where do I stand inside it? This is Finance TED Official. History has the answers.